Welcome to Your Food Business Success. This podcast is for early stage entrepreneurs in the packaged food industry ready to finally turn that delicious idea into reality. I'm your host, Sari Kimball. I have guided hundreds of food brand founders to success as an industry expert and business coach, and it's gotta be fun. In this podcast, I share with you mindset tools to become a true entrepreneur and run your business like a boss. Interviews with industry experts to help you understand the business you are actually in, and food founder journeys so you can learn what worked and didn't work and not feel so alone in your own journey. Now let's jump in. All right, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm so excited for this one. You guys are going to love our guest today. And I am excited to welcome on Julie Nirvelli. Hello.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Me too. Okay, so I'll give you the brief bio and then Julie and I will just get into it. And you guys will quickly see that she and I are good friends and we're going to have a lot of fun on this conversation. So Julie was in the natural products industry for 15 years. She started a brand which she grew to a national level, narrowly escaping bankruptcy, but was able to actually sell her company. And she then took her passion for building community and working with entrepreneurs, and she purchased what's called Network in Action, and she purchased a franchise about a year ago. And she is really an expert in relationship building and networking. And that's what this whole episode is all about. And full disclosure, I am in her Network in Action group, and it's awesome. And I love that you also have this background in CPG and had a brand. So it's so perfect to bring these two things together for our listeners.
Awesome. I love it. Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah.
Okay. So we'll just jump in. People hate networking. They are probably cringing right now, just hearing the word. So tell us, Julie, is networking important to the success of our brand and our business?
For many reasons, I think absolutely yes. And I can totally understand why people cringe when they hear networking. And I think there's lots of different ways to network. And what also makes me cringe is going to a networking event where I awkwardly exchange business cards with people and ask, what do you do? What do you do? So I can completely relate to that. And so I'm not encouraging people to necessarily do that. So we can talk about other definitions of like networking and building relationships and things like that.
Yeah. Well, I guess let's answer the question. How was networking as you grew your business? And I should just say, I actually, I don't know if we officially met, but I knew of you and everything when I was at Whole Foods Market, because your picture was literally on your, on the jar, at least a drawing of you was on the jar, and you were often at the store doing demos when you had your product, and as you grew it and eventually sold it, was networking and those connections, was that important to the growth of your business?
Huge. So I think of networking as, I would call it more relationship building, what I was doing when I was at Whole Foods or visiting Whole Foods stores. I think that I could give some stories. This is kind of, I think, jumping ahead a little bit, but when I would go into Whole Foods, I think my main purpose was to create connection with store level people. And I would do that in various ways. One really simple way is, you have to empathize with those people. They come in at like 4 a.m. to stock the shelves, and it's just a thankless job. So I would do what I could to brighten their day. I would, bring them t-shirts. But I think even more importantly, I would do whatever I could to make their job easier. So for an example, if I walked up and somebody was facing the shelves, meaning pulling all the products forward to the front of the shelf, and I needed to have a conversation with them, I would start helping them face that set while we were having our conversation. So I'm giving back to them and helping them out. even though, I may be asking them for something, or I might not be. I might just be saying hi and catching up, but showing that you kind of can relate to them and understand some of their pain points and offering help in a very subtle way is a great way to build relationships.
Yeah. And so maybe it is about reframing the word networking, right? it's,
Right.
it's more about creating great relationships and connection and offering value that oftentimes we then maybe cash in on later, but maybe not.
Right. One of my favorite stories is I demoed a lot at the Whole Foods on Pearl Street, and I got to know some of those people pretty well. And one day, this guy, Alex, said, I just want a crappy, bad for you donut so bad. But of course, we don't have those here. And my dad was coming to visit me at the demo. And I text my dad, I'm like, Dad, can you stop and get some bad for you donuts on your way here? I'll explain later. So like an hour later, my dad shows up with donuts, and I walk up to Alex with this box of donuts, and I blew his mind. He was like, what on earth? And so I think just having fun, creating connection, being authentic. And it was really I just wanted to give him what he was wishing for. And it was so fun to be able to do that.
Right. I love that. It's a great story. And it didn't take that much effort, but I'm sure he never forgot that. And anytime anybody asked what salsa I should get to bring to a party, he was like, let me take you to the shelf.
Yeah.
Show you
and I also got some huge displays from that store based on the relationships that I built with them. Yeah. Just, even after doing a demo, I would always sweep up the area, even if I didn't really make a mess. It's just nice to show that you're cleaning up after yourself. I would go to the salsa set and reface and face that whole set at the end of a demo. And again, just any little thing you can do to give back and contribute, I think pays off in spades.
Yeah, I can tell you from being in the stores and working the floor that those things are huge and go a long way. But let's take us out of the store. And if I even, an early stage brand, what are some other ways that networking or relationship building might be helpful for me as I'm, wanting to grow, whether I'm in farmers markets or retail or online?
If there's a way to personally brand yourself in a way that relates to your product, that is really helpful because you create a connection point. So for me, my logo was a 50s pinup cowgirl, and I would wear a cowboy hat everywhere I went, and people would recognize me. Oh, you're the salsa girl. And I think it brought levity to the situation. It created an opportunity for people to want to talk to me, or it was an icebreaker even in social events or networking events where people, just gave people an excuse to chat with me. So I think if you have something about your personal brand that, for men, some men wear a bow tie, but it stands out and it's different, and people walk up and say, nice bow tie. It's just really nice to have some kind of icebreaker in your appearance that just helps ease that awkwardness, I guess.
I like that a lot. I hadn't really, but yeah, it's right. When I see you, I mean, you don't wear the hat so much anymore, but you still have a look that I'm like, there's the Julie look.
Yes, I have big white feather earrings that I wear a lot.
Yeah, you become kind of branded. And you could wear, I know there was this couple that owned a brewery in Fort Collins, and everywhere they went, they always wore the logo of the brewery. And it was such a great way it is networking in a way. You never know who you're going to meet. And somebody's like, I love that brewery, or tell me about this, right? It gives an opening of conversation.
Absolutely. I have the most incredible example of that exact situation.
Love it.
So I was wearing a branded baseball hat, and I was flying I don't know where I was. I don't even remember where I was going, but I ended up sitting next to this man, and he thought the hat I was wearing was he just saw the colors of it. He didn't see what was right on the front of it. But he started talking to me about it. And so I said, oh, and I own a salsa company. And then he started asking questions like, what distributor do you use? What retailers are you in? And I was like, you must be in the industry. And he said, I am actually. And I said, what do you do? He was a VP of Fred Meyer's.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible.
Unbelievable. So he gave me his card. I emailed him. He literally got my products into Fred Meyer, which was amazing. Then a couple of years later, I would kind of keep in touch with him every now and then, but a couple of years later, he ended up moving to Colorado and he was working as a VP with King Soopers. And I had an issue that I wasn't able to get solved at kind of a lower level. And I reached out to him and he connected me with the right person. And I was able to get the information that I needed.
I love that.
So yes, brand yourself.
Yes. In Master Your Business, we talk a lot about your who's and who are the people who can help you. And the more you have the suitcase of, of all these people, these connections, and that, even if it's just having a good conversation with them, right? That is like a token that you could potentially then be like, hey, now, do you remember me? Met you on the airplane. And is this something you can help me with?
And I do have one more story and one more thing I want to point out. Part of my personal brand too, I think, is really having super positive energy, being helpful, being friendly. So when I was doing so many demos at the Whole Foods at Pearl Street, when I launched my product, I did 4 demos a week for 4 weeks in a row. They made a rule after that you couldn't demo that much.
You over demoer.
I'm an over demoer, but what happened while I was there, obviously, not only did I build relationships with, the team members, the store manager walked the store a lot, and he and I built a relationship, and he was eventually promoted to grocery at the regional level. And then he was promoted to VP at the regional level. The number of times that I was able to call on him for help or guidance or introductions was just priceless. And that was, again, I think we connected because of my positivity and my drive and my enthusiasm. And I would really encourage people, especially in those types of situations, you might be having a bad day or something personally bad has happened, but bring your light, bring your spirit, and inspire people to smile.
We talk about enthusiasm is actually the most contagious emotion that there is. Like scientifically, it actually lights up this part of your brain. And we just can't help it. When somebody's enthusiastic around us, we like, oh my gosh, right? Like, even if you're in the worst mood ever, you're like, I'm with you.
Oh, I love that. I didn't know that. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Yes. So enthusiasm, I think it could very well be part of someone's brand.
Absolutely. So what are some of your guiding principles then that you would encourage, brand founders as they're thinking about all the people that they connect with, whether it's online, it could be through social media, it could be at events, it could be in stores?
I would say my general networking guiding principles, which really, again, I'd like to reframe networking as building relationships. And I think the important way to build relationships are to listen more than you talk. And that gives you the opportunity to find ways that you can give more than you can take. I'll often ask people, what are your challenges right now? What are you working on? Where are you stuck? And just listen to what they have to say and then see if I can provide value somehow by connecting them with somebody who can help, or if I have some experience where I can help them. So I would say that, that major guiding principle is to give more than you take and be of service as much as possible.
I love that. Generosity is one of my core values, and being mindful of that. And I can say, as an introvert myself, so I know a lot of people listening, maybe introverts as well, that thinking about going to a room, we are fortunate in Colorado here to have several networking groups, community groups like Naturally Boulder and Colorado Food Works. And it can be really intimidating walking into those rooms, especially when you're new and you don't know people. And I think that there's such a tendency to want to think that you have to talk all about yourself and you have to like present yourself in a certain way and have all these talking points and all of this. But I think what you're saying is just starting conversation and maybe having a couple of in your pocket questions that get people talking about them first.
Or kind of the reverse of branding yourself. If you see someone who's wearing something you like or something like that, you can break the ice that way and say, oh, those are great earrings. Where'd you get those? Or something like that. And it just starts people off on a light foot.
Remembering that it's not about getting something right then from the connection, the conversation, right? It's about building a relationship, and relationships go back and forth, and thinking about how can you help somebody? And you might be like, well, how am I going to help the VP of some grocery chain? But if you're always in that mindset of like listening for small ways that you could be of service, like, who do you know? Who else could you connect them with? Or maybe you saw a great post on social media or an interesting website or just like a piece of information that could be helpful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So we don't have to be as scared about meeting with people. And I know you really took that, once you sold your business, then you kind of took community and relationship building to the next level. So I'd love to hear kind of what that next iteration of community building and relationships looked like for you.
Yeah, I love that. So I sold my company 6 years. Friday was 6 years ago. That was hard to believe. That time flies. But after I sold my company, I joined the board for Naturally Boulder. And at the time, Naturally Boulder had a couple of forums. There was a CEO forum and a founders forum. And I had been a member of the founders forum, and the value that I received from attending those meetings and learning from my peers and commiserating and celebrating and building those relationships and knowing we could call on each other when we had a question or a challenge was so valuable to me that when I joined the board, I wanted to create more forums. I added 6 more forums for a total of 8. We had a CFO, COO, CMO, etc. So people could meet with their peers who are doing the same job function as each other. Eventually, I became the moderator of those forums, and it was magical. Just the feeling I got being able to provide the container for those people to meet. I would get the guest speaker that they wanted, whatever topic they wanted to hear from, and then listen to their discussions and how they were sharing resources. And, oh, well, I deal with this way. Or did you know you can actually negotiate with retailers, and all kinds of really incredible information. That was the next thing that I did after I sold my company.
I think that takes, when we think about networking or relationship building to another level, oftentimes we think about maybe trying to connect with people who could help us in the next, whether it's somebody, a service provider, or somebody in the industry, a store buyer, or something like that. But there is this whole piece around connecting with your peers. I don't know why, and maybe you know why, but I don't know why I feel like many entrepreneurs really shy away from, and they think that they should just be in this little bubble of like their own solopreneurship, and that they shouldn't go and get help. But it's so freaking lonely, and it's the hardest way. So I'm hearing from you, it sounds like it was super valuable to have connection with each other as well.
Absolutely. And I think my hunch is, as entrepreneurs, we're wearing so many hats and we have so many responsibilities. You can run on that hamster wheel till you're, exhausted. But by creating that time to connect with your peers, you get energized and refreshed hearing other ideas and feeling like you're not alone and you're not the only one with these challenges, and you have people to reach out to. I think it's really important not to be a lone wolf and to find a community.
And I can say from my own personal experience, when I first started my business, I was just in it mostly alone. I was a part of a program, but there wasn't really a community element. It was just kind of the guide, the person in charge. And it was hard, really hard. And most days you just it was exhausting. And even being an introvert, I found when I did start getting into community and giving back, and not just taking, but giving and being a two-way street, that it really helped to re-energize me and fill me back up. And it's just so interesting that I think, and maybe because we're afraid of like being the newbies, if we're really early stage, that we're not going to have anything to contribute, or our fear of judgment, what will people think of me? I think it's the secret sauce to really 10xing, really escalating your success.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that. I think it's really important. And I think, when I talk to friends who aren't entrepreneurs, it's hard for them to relate or fully understand what I'm talking about. So definitely if someone doesn't have that kind of network, I would for sure find it.
And it is amazing. I mean, we do that in Fuel all the time, where somebody will post something and it's like, oh, actually, I just had a call with somebody was having trouble with Shopify, and it's like, oh, I know exactly how to fix that. Let me show you how. And now everybody's learning from each other. And she was like, oh my gosh, I've been on Google for 2 hours trying to figure this out. She's like, I should have just posted in the group earlier. And it's like, yeah, we can help each other solve problems so much faster, and to feel more, I don't know, just that you're not all by yourself.
I love that. That's awesome.
I know. It was just literally this morning. And I was like, I know, post it in the group first before you Google your brain out.
Yeah.
And then I've gotten so much value out of your networking group, and just the way that what I love and I try to bring into my own programs is that, collaboration and partnership, and really like looking out for opportunities for each other. And you do such a great job of cultivating that kind of culture.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I, again, my enthusiasm, I think, comes out quite a bit in the meetings. And my goal for those, after moving on from Naturally Bolder, starting this Network in Action franchise, again, it's a similar goal. It's to provide a container where entrepreneurs can connect with each other and really build those deep relationships. Mm-hmm. And on that point, I think another element of connecting with people is being vulnerable sometimes when it's the right time. Because I think a lot of times if someone comes across as really cocky and like, I've got this all figured out, I don't need help, everything is awesome. And then you're just kind of like, oh, okay, well then I guess there's nothing I can help you with. And then, so I think asking for help or being vulnerable once you've established a bit of a connection with someone is also a great way to give someone else an opportunity to feel good about being helpful.
It's true. Because it feels amazing to help somebody else. Somebody's like, oh, I'm running into this dead end and I'm trying to fix this, or anybody have any ideas? And it fills me back up anyway to be like, oh, here's who I'm going to connect you with so-and-so, or have you tried this? But if you're never turning it around and allowing people to help you're missing out on a huge piece of connection.
Absolutely. I know you are such a giver and such a great connector and always wanting to help. And I think that's why we're friends.
That's right. And I think that there's something about people might be thinking, well, I want to hang out with people who are way further along than me. And I do think that there's value in that. Of course, like you want people who are further along, but you also want to be like, where can I give to somebody who I'm further along? But also growing up with your peers. And over time, if you stay in it, you kind of become friends with peers. And then one person might meet somebody that's a buyer in their particular category. And they're like, oh my gosh, you have to talk to so-and-so. Or we can do collaborations and partnerships and things like that together. And it's like all the boats can rise.
There's so much value in surrounding yourself. You said it's good to have connection, like mentors who've been there and mentor other people, but that peer connection is so powerful because all going through the same stuff, and you can just be such great resources for each other.
I'm curious if you were to say, like, if you were going to build a perfect, and I didn't prep you with this question, so it's okay. You can think about it for a second. But if you were to build like the perfect toolkit of like this is my relationship toolkit for my business, what kind of people do you think would be really important to have in there?
Oh, that is such a good question. How about if I talk about my inner, middle,
Yeah,
outer
I love that.
circle to answer that question? Okay. One of my members asked if I could teach him how to be a better referral partner. So I really had to think about it. It comes naturally for some people, and some people have the right heart, but they just haven't quite thought about all the things they can do. What I came to realize is we have a limited amount of time to network. We can only keep in touch with so many people, right? I mean, and so if you're going to what I kind of call revolving door networking events, where you might meet someone that's great for your inner network, but you might also mostly be adding people to your outer circle. So part of my toolkit would be to be really intentional about what you're looking for. Who are you looking to meet? In the natural products industry, you're always looking to meet more people. So I think that may slightly differ than what we talk about in our entrepreneur group, which is at this stage of my business, I feel like everything I need exists within my network. So what I did is I identified my inner circle, the people that I really wanted to keep in close contact with. So that's regular contact, weekly or monthly, someone you could call at the drop of a hat. I need a favor. You mentor each other. So kind of what we were talking about, that tighter peer group. And then the middle circle would be people that you still have regular contact with, but not quite as often. But that would be maybe people you collaborate with, or you check in occasionally to see what they need, if there's anything you can help them with. And then that outer circle is more just acquaintances, people you're not intentionally staying in touch with, but you may know. But I feel like if there was something I needed, I could reach out to my inner or middle circle and get what I need.
I love that example you came up with. I think that's really helpful. And I do think that there probably are different seasons when you're first starting out. Like, let's just say you're just starting out and you attend a Naturally Bolder event or, Naturally Network event or something, and everybody's going to be in your outer circle when you start. And that's okay.
Right.
Get all those cards, have those conversations, like make note of who they are, and, follow up later and try to offer some value when you're having a conversation with them. Add them to your LinkedIn, go follow their brand, do the follow up.
Mm-hmm.
But then over time, hopefully you're also finding other places that you can go and make deeper connections, whether it's inside my membership, or we're going to talk about your new group and program as well. But like go find platforms where you can go deeper with people and start to create more of those middle and inner network.
Yeah, I think that's really valuable.
I see it all the time. I mean, it's been so valuable to me to have as I've grown my network over the years. And I think about when I started Food Business Success and all of this now 4.5 years ago, something like that. But, I didn't know anybody. And now I can walk in a room and people are like, oh, it's Sari, right? But like that takes time, and it takes nurturing, and it takes growing those connections and giving and just really nurturing that. It doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah, absolutely. Nurturing is the perfect word, I think.
So, Julie, you've had all these amazing experiences. I'm sure you've been doing this all of your life, building connections and relationships. But you started, you were in the salsa and CPG, and then you took it into new roles around Naturally Bolder, and then creating the forums, and then with Network in Action, and now you're going next level. So I am so excited for you to share with our listeners what you are doing, because we can't seem to keep you out of the natural products industry.
That's right. I'm back. I just took a short hiatus. I'm so excited because like you just said, I feel like everything I've done has just brought me to this path, and I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. And this new business that I'm launching is going to be such an amazing resource. And again, in that vein of connecting people to each other and connecting people to knowledge to help them be successful. So my new business is called the Natural Products Executive Collective, or NPEC for short, because that's a mouthful. um, and it's a platform where companies will join based on their revenue size. So they are interacting with their peers and they're not kind of slowed down by questions that might be, we did that 10 years ago or something like that. So they'll join at their revenue level, interact with their peers in many different ways. One is discussion boards, which are topical. So members can opt into the boards that they want to be in conversation with. Like there'll be a sales board, and some of those topics might be, how do you negotiate with UNFI? Or I just got, an audit report from UNFI. What does this mean? What do I do? So those would be kind of sales related. There could be finance related boards talking about maybe investment money and things like that. So, and the cool thing about those boards is they'll be archived. So you could type in a question and any discussions that have happened in the past will show up, or you can pose a new question.
I love that. There's so many topics that I'm just like, oh, recalls, or Shopify changed this feature, or sales tax, or
right. Yeah.
This goes
so
on.
So many moving parts. And so, this idea basically came from learning how, I'll keep sharing more about what the platform does, but how valuable the Naturally Bolder forums were, and I think still are, and they will still provide a lot of value because they're in person. My thought was, people need to be able to tap into this knowledge on demand. Like right now, I have a problem this week, or I need to hire such and such by X date. And so this is the go-to kind of resource to get that information. So beyond the discussion boards, there will be virtual monthly forums based on revenue size and position within the company. So for example, a $7 million company CEO would be with other similar sized CEOs. And those are cohorts. So that's not like a revolving door opportunity. That's like, let's get to know each other, build trust, have confidentiality, and things like that.
It's almost, I was thinking about it more, and it's like, because I do that, I have a 10X mastermind, right? And so it's this cohort, and we're with each other all year, and the relationships that get formed and how we're all supporting each other. And it's kind of like your, I don't know, high school class or your college class, like, right, as you progress, like everybody gets to bring everyone along, and you create these deeper connections and relationships. It's a really powerful thing.
I love it. And, most larger companies are going to have some kind of advisory board or board of directors. And this is meant to really supplement that because, your board, they may not be super accessible, or they each have their own limited experience. And so this way you can just get lots of different input and ideas. And a lot of times board members are retired, or they're out of, they're not really necessarily up with this industry changes so fast, as we all know. Yeah.
And I love that you also open it up. So depending on the size of the company, if you're a $10 million plus revenue, or even, 5 million, or even 1 million, you're going to have probably a CEO or CFO and other kind of positions in the company that need support. And so I love that, different size, depending on your revenue size, you get additional seats too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. COVID obviously was a unique time, but I was running the forums at that time, and we had the COO forum, and the COOs were getting killed. They just couldn't. And for the few who took the time to come to the meeting, the information that they learned from each other, it changed their life. Like, where are you getting glass? Where are you getting these ingredients? Boxes were unavailable. And someone in that meeting was like, no, my supplier has plenty of boxes. And that's a special time, but that's the kind of information that you can plug into. Like you said, different roles need support as well. So
yeah, absolutely.
So there will also be resource library where people can read articles and, get more information about various topics. We'll have webinars, and a really exciting thing that we're offering is we're partnering with service providers who are going to offer discounts that you cannot get anywhere else. So super excited about that, to just create more value and help build relationships kind of across the board.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'll be offering some special things as well in there. So I'm excited to be a part of it and help
I'm so excited to have you. Yeah. And since we haven't launched yet, and when we're in the launch phase, we're going to have launch deals, and Sari has offered some cool deals for people who join early. So,
I mean, there in this industry, there are so many little pieces that have to add up to make it run smoothly, and it doesn't always run smoothly. So it's nice to have that community.
It's an incredibly complex business. It really is. I mean, I don't know. Now I've been around a lot more different kinds of entrepreneurs, and I don't know if there's many more complex businesses than a food business or something where you have all of this regulation. There's just so much to it.
People just don't realize all that goes into it. It's a very complicated business.
It is. And so it's almost ridiculous when I think about, you think you want to do this all by yourself and you want to just be in your own little bubble and think that everything, you don't need people ahead of you, below you, with you, outside of your circle. I mean, you need all of it. You need a huge toolkit of connections and relationships. And I would imagine you go and ask any one of those brands. I mean, I interviewed Justin a couple summers ago from Justin's Nut Butter, and it was all about the relationships, right? That's how he got the squeeze packs, where he got them was because of relationships.
That's so funny, because as you were saying, no way you should do this alone, I started thinking about, I was going to comment and say, I had mentors when I was starting my business and built relationships with people who I could reach out to and ask these questions. And Justin was one of my mentors, and he was amazing. And no matter how big his company got, he would answer me within 24 hours. I mean, he's just such an amazing guy, and what a giver. And that, I feel like that just paid off for him.
Yeah. And then you turned around and were a giver to others, and cycle. And we're trying to have everybody be successful and change the way that we're eating, and have more sustainable options and all of the things that we're also passionate about. But I just cannot emphasize enough. It's just, you cannot do it alone. Please find support, find community. Speaking of Justin,
yes.
We brainstormed.
I was going to say, you came up with this amazing idea.
I'm so excited for this kind of launch event that you are doing. So tell us all about what is happening. And of course, if you're listening after the fact, you'll be able to go and see the replay. But tell us about your launch event.
Shameless plug for you first. We were in a coaching session and we were talking about launching NPEC and some of the steps that needed to happen. And you said, I think if you did a webinar with someone like Justin, that would just really, provide value by having him share his experience where people can learn from him. And then, having people on that webinar, and we can talk about the importance of community building and whatnot. And I was like, that's an amazing idea. So I texted him and said, do you have time to chat? And he said, I'll call you in about an hour. So I meditated, I visualized him saying yes. And he already knew about this idea because I had seen him at an event a couple months ago. And the key, what I said to him was, Justin, you love to help people, and everybody wants a piece of Justin. You are pulled in so many directions. And I said, and you told me that you believe in this idea. And so my thought is, this is a great way for you to help a ton of brands by getting people, increasing awareness about the platform and helping get people onto the platform, because what they're after is knowledge. That's what they want from you, is your knowledge and experience. And that's what we're providing on an even bigger scale. And he said, I'm working full time now for Rudy's. I I volunteer on this board. I do things for Naturally Boulder. I'm training for biathlons. I just started a nonprofit in Netherlands. And he said, but I totally believe in this idea. So yes, I will do it.
Well, I am so thrilled. He said yes. Yeah, he's not easy to pin down. So connections and relationships here.
Yeah, because I've known him for so many years. And he also agreed to be on the NPEC Board of Advisors. I'm just beyond grateful that he's taking the time.
So tell us when this amazing kickoff event, fireside chat, webinar is going to be.
So we decided to do a lunchtime chat. So it's have virtual lunch with Justin. And what I really want to do is kind of elevate this conversation. Of course, everyone is welcome, but he speaks a lot to startups, and I want to help kind of elevate that. So we're going to talk about scaling and strategizing, brand strategy, positioning your company for sale, and maximizing resources. So this really, I'm hoping that we get, CEOs, salespeople, founders of larger companies. Everyone is welcome, of course, but really wanted to focus on kind of elevating the conversation. So it will be February 27th at noon Mountain Time. So bring your lunch and bring your questions, because you'll be able to ask questions, and bring a notepad or some way of taking notes, because I think it's, the goal is that it can spark some really great ideas.
Amazing. It is so fun to hear Justin, and he's got an incredible story and so much wisdom. And I love that he's back in the CPG world. So it's not just like, oh, he did this a long time ago, but he's in it again. I will put the link to get registered in the show notes. If you're listening to this when it comes out, the event will be a week from today. And of course, it'll be recorded, and you can find it in NPEC. And I'll also include the link if you're on my email list, so you'll be able to get registered there. It's totally free. It's going to be a really valuable lunch, right? Bring your lunch, bring some paper, and get ready to learn and to see what shifts in your own business. Make some different decisions, and maybe consider joining NPEC as well.
The website is npecollective.com. Natural Products Executive Collective.com. And right now we have a LinkedIn page, and that's it right now for social media.
That's perfect. I think LinkedIn probably makes a lot more sense anyway. And if you're listening to this after launch, then you can use the discount code SARI20, and that'll save you 20% on your membership. Plus, if you are below 300K in revenue, you're also going to get Food Business Success as part of your package with NPEC. So you'll get lifetime access to my online program. So it is quite a deal, and it's so fun to be able to do this partnership with Julie.
I love startups. I love to help people.
It'd be really fun. We'll have to bring you into Fuel VIP, I think, one of these months, and just have you be a guest. And then you can tell the whole story, because I'm sure if people were listening at the beginning, we're not going to go into it here. You're going to have to join NPEC or join Fuel, and we will have the conversation about how you started, which you started at farmers markets, and then I have to hear the story about near bankruptcy. I did not know that. So we're going to save that.
That was a very close call. Yes. It's a great story.
Yes. I love that. Okay. Well, we'll have to get that booked for this spring, which will be super fun to have you in there.
I'd love that.
All right, Julie, what do you want to leave our listeners with around creating connections?
Well, I would say be authentic and bring your light and bring joy to build connection. I think that's one of the main things. And then the other thing I've learned over the years in working with various types of people is what has helped formulate my new tagline, which is, I just want to do cool shit with cool people.
It's about being selective, right? It's understanding that it's great to have a whole bunch, just like the outer circle, right? But not everybody gets to come into the inner circle.
Yeah. And who do you resonate with? And listen to your gut. That's a whole nother thing you could talk about, is following your gut. But that's a whole nother podcast.
Well, yes, Julie, thank you for following your own gut and your intuition to allow more people to, find more cool people and do more cool shit and just create a more fun place for us entrepreneurs and being such a great model for us in how to create better connection with people.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for being a part of my inner circle.
My pleasure. So fun. Well, thank you, Julie, for coming on. It's been such a pleasure to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
I hope everyone is feeling inspired and ready to go start expanding their inner circle to make connections with others and to give as much as they get. So go out, start today. Just do one small thing, one way that you can go and reach out to someone who might be able to support you and you could support them in turn. And until next time, have an amazing week. The smartest thing you can do as an entrepreneur is to invest in a who to help you with the how, to speed up your journey and help you skip the line. When you are ready for more support and accountability to finally get this thing done, you can work with me in 2 ways. Get me all to yourself with one-on-one business coaching, or join Food Business Success, which includes membership inside Fuel, our community of food business founders that includes monthly live group coaching calls and so much more. It's one of my favorite places to hang out, and I would love to see you there. Go to foodbizsuccess.com to start your journey towards your own food business success.